Hey everybody, it's Trevor here with the channel where every day is range day, and in this week's video we've got another how-to installation guide, and this time it's going to be for installing M-LOK attachments on a rifle rail. Let's check it out. So as we're getting into this, of course, another disclaimer, this video is probably not going to be for everybody. It could be sort of a simple installation for putting just an M-LOK attachment on your rail here, but given there's a lot of newer people coming into the firearms industry and maybe modding their weapons for their first time, we figured it'd be a good idea to help those that are newer. If you've been into firearms for quite a long time, modding something with this is probably pretty easy for you, and this video is probably not going to help you out too much. But of course, it's always nice to help those that are newer to the firearms industry as they're learning. So if you have any helpful tips for M-LOK installations that you know that I don't happen to cover in this video, please leave them down below in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And the extra help could be just what somebody else needed when they're just starting out and learning how things work. That being said, let's get into it. Again, for those newer, M-LOK attachments are what you can see here on this rifle rail, and they refer to the sort of pill-shaped slots that run up and down the sides and bottom of this particular rifle rail. And M-LOK is definitely growing in popularity as over the past couple of years or so. M-LOK was developed by Magpul as an open source platform for a rail interface, as you can see here, and it's sort of the successor to what is known as Keymod. I'm not saying that it's a direct replacement, but it sort of came after it. Prior to that, of course, you had the 1913 or Picatinny rail that you can see here on the top of this particular rail. And then Keymod, which you can see here, kind of has these key-shaped slots that run up and down the rifle and do pretty much the same thing as these M-LOK slots. Some of its main advantages over at least the Picatinny up here is while it's not quite as durable or maybe as secure as something like a 1913 rail is definitely a whole lot more lightweight, particularly when it comes to handguard design. You can note that the M-LOK design is actually removing space on the rail, actually cutting these slots out for your attachment, whereas the 1913 actually has all this extra bulk up here. So you save quite a bit of weight just switching to M-LOK over 1913. Albeit at the cost of maybe a little bit of security. I'm not going to get into the whole debate as to whether Keymod or M-LOK is the better rifle attachment solution. I prefer M-LOK just because it's a bit newer and more lightweight. I think it's pretty secure myself. Again, a lot of rifle handguards these days come with M-LOK as an option at least. And you'll see a lot of them that have hybrid mounting systems such as this one where it's M-LOK on the sides and the bottom, and 1913 on the top where you want something like an optic to be a whole lot more secure. But M-LOK has been a nice solution for saving just a little bit of weight on your rifle rails, and still not sacrificing any kind of real estate for putting accessories such as flashlights or grips and things like that. Overall, the installation is pretty quick and simple as it was designed to be, but there's a couple of helpful tips to look out for when you're doing it just to make sure you get the install just right and that your items are locked on tight and good and secure on the rail. Funny enough, today I'm going to be walking through a quick install of installing a 1913 segment on the side of an M-LOK handguard here that I commonly use for my Streamlight HLX weapon light. It usually finds its home on my AR, but its mounting system is only designed for 1913, and my AR only has M-LOK, so I got this little adapter plate here. There's plenty of other M-LOK accessories such as foregrips, other flashlights, you name it, they probably have it by now. But we're just going to be going over this one because it's a small piece, so you can actually see how the install works and how the M-LOK mounting system works, instead of getting the view sort of occluded by whatever it is that I'm installing. So it'll be a good piece to check out. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so here we are doing just a little top-down install of the M-LOK piece that we've been talking about earlier in the video. And here is just a nice close-up of the rail itself. These little sort of pill-shaped slots here with the rounded edges are the M-LOK attachments versus your traditional 1913 Picatinny that we have up top. And as you can see, they run along the length of both sides and the bottom of these rails. As far as the actual attachments, again, we're just going to be installing this little 1913 adapter for some accessories that might not be M-LOK compatible just yet. You can get these little adapter plates from Magpul that just slot onto the M-LOK system and then you're still good to go. I use this for my Streamlight HLX on the AR. And this is just a close-up of what the M-LOK mounting system looks like from the back side. This is what actually interfaces with the rail on your handguard. So as you can see, we kind of have three of these little pill-shaped adapter slots that are designed to fit the width of these little slots in the rail. There's this one in the middle that's a fixed piece that doesn't have any kind of bolt or screw. It basically serves as an index that you can use to push up against the sides or the edges of these slots. Then these two screw pieces that you can see on the ends will be the actual tightening and locking mechanism of the M-LOK. If you look at it from the side here, you can see sort of a T-groove that this piece will slot into when it's all the way locked down, and it will rotate within this and essentially grab onto the rail. Now the important thing to keep in mind here is with this piece is this gap between the back surface of the M-LOK attachment and the underside of this little lock nut piece, so to speak. This gap here is basically what you want to set as close as possible to the thickness of your M-LOK rail, so that when you tighten it, you basically only need a quarter turn and it will bite and lock into place. Again, that's the thickness of your rail at the M-LOK interface. You can see it's a little bit thicker here just due to this swell in the geometry, and the actual thickness is right in here that you can see on the edge of the M-LOK slot. On this particular rail, the bottom thickness remains relatively constant, so you can use this to set that gap as close as you can get it prior to installing the rail. It's a little tough to see with this type of camera, but you're aiming for the thickness of the rail to basically be that gap here in between these surfaces, the bottom of the attachment and the inside of that lock nut piece. Again, I have them pretty close here already, and the goal is to essentially slide this piece onto your rail where you want it. These pieces will have to be all lined up so that it fits, and basically be able to turn with a little Allen key each of these screws a quarter turn, and it will lock these pieces into place and basically grab the rail between this screw and the bottom surface of the attachment. Pretty simple, and that's about all there is to it, but it is very important to make sure that you don't have any slack between this, or else the accessory is going to move around and you're not going to have a secure hold. Setting this pretty close to your thickness, which looks like about 1/8 of an inch or so on this rail, is very important. It'll help make the install go smooth and make sure that you have a super tight grip on your rail with the attachment that you're mounting. That being said, now we're going to go on with the attachment. I'm just going to double check my thickness right in here. Just in this little gap, looks about right. So does this one. Turn them back a quarter turn, and now we're going to slot it onto the rail. I usually mount my M-LOK flashlight on the front end of the handguard, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put this little piece right against this edge of the webbing. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do, is just slot this right on here. I'm going to leave this one right on here, put that screw in there, and it should fall into place on the rail. Now it still moves a little bit, but you can push it to one side to make sure that you have all the grip that we're looking for on that little M piece that you can kind of see through the hole there. And there's a good look at the rail through the other gap. You can see how everything slots in, and that little M magpole thing fits right up against that side of the rail. And now we're nice and secure in the M-LOK slot. All there's left to do is to turn these little lock nuts on either side right at about a quarter turn. These usually use Allen key bolts, and this is, I think, a 3mm on here. So I'm just going to tighten each of these right at about a quarter turn, and you'll feel it tighten if you got your spacing just right. There it is, right at a quarter turn. That's all it needs. If you have to crank on it more and more and more and do 2 or 3 turns, you were too open from the start, and you should probably just take it off, tighten it down to make sure you have a good hold. And now we have it on here. This isn't going anywhere, as I cannot move it with my hand. And our M-LOK attachment is nice and secure. Looking through the rail itself down here, we can now see that each of the attachments is rotated right at about 90 degrees or so, and they are essentially clamping down on the interior of the rail through the M-LOK slot. And that's really all there is to it. You can double check the tightness with your Allen key, see they're not moving anymore. I'm just sort of torquing the wrench, and they're on there pretty good. If you feel any kind of looseness, or these want to turn a bit more, and you can move this at all, you haven't done it quite right, and you really just need to adjust your spacing, maybe another half turn from the beginning, just to make sure that you're as close to the rail thickness as possible with these 2 attachment pieces. But overall, that's all there is to it. Nice and quick and easy, and that is another one of my favorite features about M-LOK. There's so many different attachments that you can use for it, such as foregrips, different adapting pieces, lights, all kinds of things like that. And all it takes is 2 screws and 2 quarter turns, and you're locked on tight. But you can also see that there's plenty of real estate for something like this across all these different slots. And with the installation being so quick and easy, I'm definitely a big fan of it overall. And they're just as simple to remove if you ever want to swap stuff around. Again, it's just a quarter turn with your Allen key. Boom. Boom. Look back through here, and you can see that our pieces are adjusted again, and you can just kind of wiggle it out of there. And that's all there is to it. There's no reason to make it any more complicated than it is, but the big tip is to definitely make sure that your spacing here is definitely as close as possible to the rail thickness to begin with. If you do that, it should be a nice quarter turn, you'll be good to go. Alright guys, that looks like it's going to be it for the video this week on how to do just a quick DIY install of M-LOK attachments on your rifle rails. We just did a quick demonstration of installing this rail piece on the side of an M-LOK handguard I had lying around, and took a good look at how M-LOK actually functions and just talked about its installation in general. Again, M-LOK is a rail interface mounting system that's been growing in popularity pretty quickly over the last 4 to 5 years or so, and you can find plenty of handguards on the market today. It offers tons of real estate for adding different accessories along all lengths of a rifle handguard, but also saves a good bit of weight over something like 1913. Of course, there's always trade-offs between weight savings, which is something that M-LOK offers over maybe 1913, but 1913 or Picatinny rails might be just a little bit more secure in their actual grip on the rail. That being said, M-LOK is a pretty secure system, and I'm a big fan of it myself. And I hope the little DIY installation guide we went through today helps you putting on any new accessories you're looking to outfit your rifle with. If you have any further questions about the install we talked about today, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And also, if you're perhaps not as new to the firearms industry and maybe this video is pretty old hat for you, feel free to leave down below any other tips that I may not have covered. Any extra advice you might be able to provide could be pretty helpful for somebody who's just starting out, learning how things are. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed our video for this week, and as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, where every day is range day. Thank you for watching.